Welcome to T-Wolves Talk, where we talk everything Timberwolves from news to post-game wrap-ups. Let's get into it. This is a recap for the first half of the Timberwolves and Rockets game. So first of all, the first half has been good. The game is close. We played good the first half. We could touch up on defense a little bit, like always, but other than that, we've played pretty good. One thing we need to do is people need to get back and find their man quick. The Rockets are pushing the pace, which is allowing them to get easy layups. The Timberwolves players kind of getting back on D, turning around, and then they're already driving in, so they kind of got to get back quicker in a way. They're pretty aggressive on defense. They usually are, like Tyus Jones. Even Crawford was a little bit aggressive on defense, which is good. It's good to have aggressive defense, but we need those back-end guys to just kind of stay put and be able to help if anyone gets by, if anyone gets past, and the aggressive defender. So we got to have that. What we need to do on offense is whenever we get good looks at the rim, we usually convert it into points. So if we can keep getting decent looks at the rim, we'll be able to get easy buckets. And that transfers. It's like I was watching the game, and you know, a layup is a lot easier to hit than a mid-range shot. So that's something we got to keep doing to go into the second half. Whenever we seem to post up, it seems to work out for us. A lot of the time when Jimmy posts up and we give him the ball, he'll dribble in a couple times, and then he'll kind of look over, and the one time he found Wiggins wide open for three. They like to double team, and whenever they double team, there's a guy going to be wide open. So that's one thing we need to do. Need to do more maybe, because even Wiggins, like, we got to work on off of mismatches. Wiggins had Chris Paul one time, and he has 8 inches on him. So what he did, he just backed him down a little bit, did a little turnaround, easy jumper. There's no way Chris Paul can defend that, so might as well keep going at him like that. See, a lot of what happens with the Rockets is they get a lot of calls, especially James Harden. James Harden's known for taking free throws, a bunch of free throws. He's just a good player overall. I mean, I love James Harden. He's just a very smart player. The way he plays the game is he just helps his team win. So I mean, the refs are I have a big bias against refs. I don't really like refs. They seem to influence the game a little too much for my liking. It's hard to know what's a travel, what's if you go in, drive the ball and get fouled and go up for a layup afterwards, if it is continuation or not. It's kind of vague there. The refs, the Rockets are getting their calls, Harden's getting his calls. A couple of them I don't agree with. A couple of them, okay, yes, sure, he got fouled, but we aren't getting calls as much as they're getting calls. Like, a couple times we've been getting just completely hacked, and they've been just getting a little tiny bump, like he ran into Gibson or whatever and bounced back, and it's like, okay, well, I think that was more the offensive player's fault than Gibson. So if they could level out the calls in the second half, then sure, I guess, but the first half was mainly calls towards the Rockets. The Wolves have been rebounding offensively pretty decent. Jimmy Butler's been hustling. I mean, he's a hustle player. Towns has been doing his thing on offensive glass. He's been snagging it with one hand, bringing it down. He's just been getting his offensive rebounds. Jang has had his tips to other players. He's been hustling on the offensive glass. Gibson's just a glass cleaner the way he is. He gets offensive rebounds, so we're offensive rebounding quite well. But on the defensive end, Thibodeau has to have the players realize that the rebound is either going to be right at the hoop if they miss a layup, or it's going to be a long rebound if they shoot a 3 and miss, because they don't take mid-range shots. The Rockets are known for not taking mid-range shots. It's either layups or it's 3-pointers. So we gotta kind of, if a 3's taken, we can't be so close to the rim or else the ball will bounce over our heads. So we just gotta take a look at that and try to do that a little bit better. In the second quarter, Teague he made one really bad defensive play. Oh my god, it was terrible. But after that, he kind of made up for it because he was pushing the pace. He saw that the Rockets weren't back, so he would blow by a guy and go for an easy layup. He did that 2 times in a row, and then I think there was a possession where he didn't, and then he did it a 3rd time. He's just been quite effective in transition, so I think he should try and push it a little bit more, try and get some more easy buckets. But it's good to see him push the pace, because that's what the one thing that we haven't done the best is push pace in a game. So seeing that is nice, and just the whole pace in the game is a lot quicker than we usually play, which is good. It's good to have a little bit more pace, especially when your point guards are Jeff Teague and Tyus Jones. It's just they're good players when it comes to pace. They can blow by their guy. They're smart players. They have high IQ. They're passing players. They're like Teague is averaging 7 assists. Tyus is a good passer. They can do everything. They're good pace point guards. So having them run the pace is really good for the team. One thing that I noticed this game is Wiggins. He's been doing a lot of driving hard to the basket. He's not driving and taking a mid-range shot. He's actually like driving in and trying to finish at the rim, which is good to see, because he's very effective when he drives and tries to finish at the rim. And another thing with Wiggins is, so far he's forced a couple turnovers for the Rockets. There was a couple times where he'd be guarding the guy and he just forced them to do something that they didn't want to do, like Clint Capella. He went in, he tried to bull rush Wiggins, he tried to put his shoulder into him. Wiggins got hit. Capella got called for a travel because he didn't think Wiggins would actually stand up to him and take the contact, so that was a good thing. And then also when Wiggins was playing defense on Chris Paul, he forced him to pass up the ball with 1 second left on the shot clock, and then forced the shot clock violation. So I mean, Wiggins has just been playing a good game this game. He's been playing really good. He's playing defense, he's playing offense, he's getting to the rim, he's just playing an all-around game. I think he should get a couple more minutes in the second half, because he has been playing such a complete game. One thing I really do believe with the Timberwolves is that when Wiggins and Crawford are out at the same time, their in-between games are kind of really similar, so they don't mix very well. I've noticed that, like, when Wiggins is out with Crawford, he misses a lot more shots. When Crawford is out with Wiggins, he misses more shots. So I think splitting them up a little bit would be better. Speaking of Crawford, the way Crawford plays is he plays a lot of hero ball. He likes isolation, do a little rhythm dribble, get into his rhythm, dance a little bit, and then pull up and maybe get a foul call. But I'm a little biased in this, but I just don't really like that type of play. I don't like when a guy takes harder shots than they need to, like has the ball the whole possession. I'm a big supporter of ball movement. Ball needs to go around to everyone, and pass it quick a couple 3 times, and then find a backdoor cut or something like that. It works out good. It's an easy layup. I'm not a big fan of dribble up a guy and take contested mid-ranges or contested threes. I don't like that. I like you make the game as easy as you can. So yeah, Crawford, I think he can do that a little bit, because that's what he does. That's what he's known for. But when he tries to do it too much and then continues to do it and misses, and then it's 4 to 5 wasted possessions, that is when I have a problem with it. Because those 4 or 5 wasted possessions could have turned into points if we passed it maybe a little bit more, and then we wouldn't have them go on a 7-0 run, which is what we don't want them to do, is start a run. So I think if Crawford doesn't play as much hero ball, give him his isolation every now and again, but not 4 or 5 possessions in a row, especially when you have other players out there who can score for sure. That brings me into my next point, ball movement. I think we can move the ball a little bit more. We've been doing a decent job. We've been finding open guys. Cat made a nice pass to Wiggins at the beginning of the game. Just ball movement. The only thing that can go wrong with ball movement is a bad pass, like when you don't look before you pass it or something like that. But other than that, you find open people so much more than you make the mistake. So I think the ball movement, if you can bring that up a bit, get the defense out of position, make it so they're rotating, miss a rotation, open 3 maybe, or miss a rotation and drive and dish, just whatever you can find off of the ball movement. And that's why the Spurs are so good, is because they have their ball movement, and then it doesn't matter who gets the ball. The players, they just want to win the game, so they just pass it to whoever's open, and then that person will get an easy basket or whatever. There's a couple times I've noticed during this game is it seems like the defense turns around, finds their guy, but it just seems like it's weird matchups. There's a couple times where the Rockets just brought up the ball to the half court, set up their half court offense, and Gibson was on Harden. And I don't understand that. Why is Gibson on Harden? Why isn't Jimmy on Harden? Even Wiggins on Harden. If Tyus is out there, put Tyus on Harden. But it just seems like sometimes they get back, they turn around, and then they just zone out a little bit, and then someone has to cover, and then the communication isn't very good, and then that leads to blow-bys and no help and stuff like that, and that's just a lot of mental stuff that can be fixed. Along with that point is unnecessary switches. It seems like sometimes someone will set a very soft screen on someone, and then they'll instantly switch instead of just following the guy through the screen, trying to push through it to stay with the matchups instead of like just switching right away, because then all that has to happen is Capella goes up, just stands beside Teague, and then Teague just doesn't follow his guy. Say James Harden is here, he just goes around and Teague doesn't follow him, and then that makes it so now Towns is on Harden and then Teague is on Capella, and then that's just an easy pick and roll for them, because how is Teague gonna get up for the lob for the lob that James Harden throws to Capella? It's not going to happen, and that just gives them an advantage at all times, because we're always switching on those lazy screens and stuff like that. So I think fighting through screens a little bit more could really help our defense, because then there won't be as many mismatches for the Rockets on the offensive end. That's all I noticed for this first half. This is just the first half analysis. The second half analysis will come up right after this, so I'll see you guys then. Okay, second half report for the Wolves and Rockets game. I didn't write very much in my notes about what we did right and wrong, because after seeing that Jimmy Butler injury, I didn't really want to put anything down. I mean, let's just start with that, I guess. The Jimmy Butler injury, I don't know what to think about it. It could be bad, it couldn't be bad. They say it's a non-contact injury, but what I think happened was when Nene kind of fell on it, it did something to it. I mean, it kind of looked like when Jeff Teague hurt his, how it bent a little bit, but I don't know if it's a full tear, because even Jeff Teague had trouble walking on it afterwards. When he got up, he did take that little pivot, but I think at that point the adrenaline and the shock was just in effect, so he didn't feel it right there. But then when he took that next step, that's when everything wore off and he felt something was wrong. He was gonna get up, but Chris Paul told him to stay down, which, you know, if it hurts, you stay down and you go from there. But yeah, it's never good to see that. I actually have a live reaction of myself when I saw that. But if it's as bad as it could be, next man up. Wiggins will have to bring his scoring up, which we know Wiggins can score. He put up 24 points per game last year, and this year he's a better defender. I honestly think that Andrew Wiggins is a little bit underrated in the sense of an all-around player, especially this year. His scoring's down because he doesn't get as many touches, but in every other instance of his game, I've seen him do amazing things. I've seen him rebound the ball at a high point. I've seen him pass the ball to guys you never even see open. The guys that are just, they're open, but how does the guy see him? I've seen him do that. His defense is 4 or 5 times better. Stays in front of his guy. He can tip a ball. He's chase down blocking people. I think he's gonna surprise people if the injury is as bad as a lot of people are thinking. I think he's gonna surprise people for sure. But in the second half, the things that I took away from it is that the pick and roll from the Rockets was killing us, especially if we switch on that. The pick and roll was just killing us that game. And at the beginning of the half, we just were a little bit out of rhythm on offense, because our offense, we were taking up the whole shot clock and then having maybe a shot clock violation. It's just our offense was not in rhythm in that at the beginning of the second half. It kind of grew a little bit after that, but at the beginning, yeah, it wasn't good at all. We were still allowing too many offensive rebounds. We would be too close to the rim on the long shot, so it would bounce over someone or someone would tip it and it would just roll off their fingers to the Rockets player. So we allowed too many offensive rebounds in that second half, just like in the first. We allowed too many offensive rebounds in total, and that's one thing that they can work on, is just a long shot is going to have a long rebound and stuff like that. It's not too hard to fix, so if we can get that done, it kind of puts us in a better position. In the second half, I think the refs just were worse for the Wolves. There's a lot of just hacking that wasn't called. And I mean, the refs are going to be refs. They're going to see stuff differently than I'm a Timberwolves fan, so I'm going to be pretty biased on this. But even if you look at free throw wise, there's a couple times where Harden would go in and he wouldn't even get touched, and they'd call something for a foul and he'd get to shoot too. And it's like, okay, well, where was the contact there? Ooh, he reached out a little bit and he yelled. Well, that's not a foul. But then when Towns goes up with the ball and he gets hacked completely, there's no foul. So I don't know how you differentiate a foul from not a foul when the non-foul has more contact in it than the foul does. It's just something that the refs really have to, that should be their point of education or whatever, is just to make sure they're calling games correctly. What is a foul? What isn't a foul? What's continuation? What's not continuation? So they gotta just work on that, you know? This game we played really good transition offense. There's a couple times where it was like a 3-on-1 break and we'd take a 3 when we could have got an easy layup. But in the most of the time when we went on transition, it was a 3-on-1 or a 2-on-1. We got an easy layup or a dunk, just a nice pass for easy buckets. That's all we need on transition, is easy baskets. That's all we need. And so when we have those easy transitions and easy points off transitions, it helps us get into rhythm and just get easy points, and that's all you need in a basketball game, is easy points. In the second half, once Butler went down, it seemed like Crawford wanted to kind of take over and become the hero, but there's a couple times where I think he just tries too much. He just tries to do too much. He'll take bad shots and he'll take stupid shots, and it just doesn't look good. While I think the person who really stepped up when he went down is the person who will have to step up the rest of the season if it's as bad as it looked, and bad as it sounded like other people were saying, is Wiggins. Wiggins was great after Butler went down. He was attacking the basket, he was hitting his threes, he was doing everything that we need him to do, and I have no doubt in my mind that he's gonna step up if he needs to. If Wiggins needs to stand up, he can score. He's a better defender. He can do everything. He's a good off-ball player. He's a good on-ball player. He's just being really good this year, and he's underrated. Just because his points are down doesn't mean you're a bad player. When we were on defense, the switches made it so there was too many open three-point shooters. The Rockets had a bunch of just drive in and pop right out to open shooters. The open shooters weren't covered at all, and they did that over and over to just catch us off guard and just get as many three-point shots as they wanted. Teague was pushing pace in the second half too. He was doing a good job in just getting down the court and pushing the pace and getting an open layup. So if he can continue that, those are just easy points that we can get. One thing that works against Houston is post touches. If you can get a switch with Towns onto a smaller player and give him the ball, they'll most likely double team him, which leaves an open man. And even if he doesn't get double teamed, he'll take the guy to the hoop. And that's what he does well, is just his best move, in my opinion, is an open or a post jump hook. I feel like give him more touches and it'll open the floor for a lot of other players to get in position to make a shot or be open for three or cut, and he's good at finding the cutters too. So I feel like a post up for Towns, sure, it doesn't move the ball a whole bunch, but it puts us in a better position to score than a lot of our other actions that we run. In this game, I mean, what else can you say? It's the Rockets. They're the best. They have the best record for a reason. Harden was being Harden. He's, in my opinion, he's going to win MVP this year, and he proved it again this game. He was his passing, he just finds the person in the best position possible, and sometimes the defense just can't do anything better to guard. So I mean, the Rockets are the Rockets, and they're gonna win games, especially against the Timberwolves. When Jimmy Butler goes down in the second half, they're gonna win games. So I don't see this loss as anything too major. I don't see anything really. I don't, like a lot of people are saying, if Jimmy Butler's gone, then we're gonna miss the playoffs. I don't really think so, because even last year, sure, we were very below expectations, but it's another year. Wiggins is a year older, Towns is a year older. They had that time with Butler to kind of figure out how to win, and they still have veteran presences like Jeff Teague and Taj Gibson. So I don't see anything happening to the way to the playoffs or anything like that. If we win 7-8 more games, we're in good position to be in the playoffs. Even like 5 to 6 more games are in playoff talk, and I think this team can easily win 5 or 6 more games. Especially like the Bulls tomorrow might be an easier one to win. It depends too, so we'll see. I just don't think that it's as bad as a lot of people are saying if we are without Jimmy Butler for an extended amount of time. What I noticed is closer to the end of the fourth quarter, the Wolves just didn't play disciplined at all. They just seemed to want to foul people. Seemed like, oh, I'm straight up, but then I want to smack forward like this. Well, those are just bad fouls at that point. If you're just smacking someone because you think you might get a block, even if you do get a block and it's a clean block, they'll probably still call that as a foul because you're pushing your hand forward. Stay straight up, make it hard for them to shoot over top of you, and it's good defense even if you don't get a block. And that's what a lot of people don't understand too, is that you don't need stats to be good at defense. So that's my second half report. I didn't have too much stuff because of the injury, and I just didn't feel like writing anything, typing anything in my notes after that. So I'll come back with a player report, just kind of looking at the team stats and just to see where we kind of fell off and what was our biggest worry about this game and our biggest failure in this game. So I'll be back with that just in a sec. Okay, so here's the player / team stats part of the video. So I'm gonna go through all the team stats, the player stats, and just see whose stats kind of showed how good they were, and then where we need to improve as a team, and where players might need to fix something for next game. So let's get into it. So field goal percentage, Houston shot a better field goal percentage. They made more shots. We kind of struggled offensively. We couldn't really get into a rhythm. After every quarter, we kind of came out slower than normal. We actually shot decent from 3-point. We actually shot 38%, but Houston shot 37, which is good. That's good defensive 3-point. We play good defense on 3 points, so that's something that we did well this game. So we got to grow off of that and figure out what we did right and carry that on to games in the future. This is one stat that I kind of thought was in Houston's favor, was the rebounds, because the rebounds, we didn't rebound very good. We didn't take long rebounds into effect. We just got out hustled sometimes, and you know that we can't let that happen if we want to win. The turnover, steals, and blocks were kind of average. They're pretty even across the board for both teams. They're pretty efficient. We didn't turn it over a bunch. They didn't turn it over a bunch. We usually have more turnovers. We usually cause more turnovers. We don't have turnovers ourselves, but we cause turnovers. And as a team, that's a good thing to do, is just cause turnovers, but don't have turnovers ourselves. But this game, we didn't really cause turnovers as much as we usually do in other games. One thing I take away from the players' stats is the most assists by a player in this game was Jeff Teague, and he had 4. Now, I look at that and I just feel like it's easy for me to say that there needs to be more ball movement. If your most assists by a player is 4, especially from your point guard, I think that's where there's a problem, because that means no one else even, there might be a couple players who had 4, but other than that, nobody really had a bunch of assists. And ball movement is something that leads to easy points. And you get easy points, then defense becomes easier, and the game just becomes easier. And that's one thing I look at when I look at the stats, and it's just 4 assists, and while James Harden had 9 assists, and look how they did. They got so many easy buckets. So I think that's just something we need to add to our team, is just more ball movement. Well, that's the wrap up for the Timberwolves versus Rockets game. Tomorrow, it's the Timberwolves versus Bulls, so I'll see you guys then. Peace out.